seriously popular.
Hi, Kelly. Here we are at MAGAland again. How are you doing?
It's been a busy past 24 hours. I think we were working last night till close to midnight with Trump's big Gaza announcement. So there's a ton to unpack today.
It has not stopped. As I sat down, I got the notification that Pam Bondi has now been sworn in as Attorney General. We also have to talk what happened to the tariffs war, of course, the big Gaza Strip threat, and saying goodbye to the Department of Education, perhaps.
That is a big campaign promise that Trump's been delivering on, and we'll get into all of this on our episode today.
That's right. And we are very lucky today because we have Emily Gooden, who is the senior White House correspondent for the Daily Mail, and she's going to tell us all things about Trump's announcement about the U.S. taking over the Gaza Strip because she was there watching the announcement. All of that and more right after this break.
Are you a forward thinker? Then you need an HR and finance platform that thinks like you do. Workday is the AI platform that helps propel your organization, your workforce, and your industry into the future. Workday, moving business forever forward.
Welcome to MAGAland.
We are back with Emily Gooden, senior White House correspondent for the Daily Mail, who currently has an article up on her experience at the Trump and Netanyahu press conference last night. Emily, take us inside the room, the craziness, the chaos. What was going on from the ground up?
Well, it was loud and chaotic, just like Donald Trump likes it. When he made that announcement that the U.S. should take over Gaza, people gasped. It was audible. People were stunned. Everyone froze. And then when he paused to take questions, it broke out into noise and chaos and people raising hands, and jumping in the air and shouting, all trying to get his attention. It's just how Donald Trump loves it.
There is a moment that went viral on social media when Trump paused the press conference to take a question from an Afghan reporter. He ended up saying he couldn't hear anything that she was saying, but her voice was beautiful. What was that like on the ground? Who is this reporter? Do you work with her a lot?
She is a reporter from Afghanistan. At the White House, there are a lot of reporters from different countries who are there covering the president because obviously the president of the United States is an important world figure. People chuckled a little bit when that happened. It was a very Trumpian moment that he couldn't hear her. She did have a heavy accent, so I had some sympathy for the president. And keep in mind, President Trump is also several hundred feet away from the journalists, and the room has an echo. So it is hard to hear. And then with her accent, I think he just had trouble trying to make out what she wanted, but he was obviously very polite to her in his Donald Trump way, and everyone had a little chuckle about it.
That was another moment of Trump as a showman for sure. But you were in the room, Emily. I want to get your opinion on Netanyahu's reaction as soon as Trump said those words. He could not hide his joy. I wonder if that was the first time he was hearing this. Afterwards, he said that Trump has been the most supportive president to Israel that has ever been in the White House. So that's one. Another thing that I've been seeing online is that what Trump said of basically taking over the Gaza Strip and make it into the Riviera of the Middle East. People in the newsroom were saying something like he's thinking of Gaza Lago to develop in the area, which, by the way, experts have said this is impossible. It would never happen. But a lot of people are saying that the plan that Trump is repeating comes from Jared Kushner and what his idea to this conflict was. So if you could answer all of my questions, please.
Those are a lot of great questions. So let's unpack that. So first of all, Netanyahu, he was loving it. He literally was standing at his podium with his elbow on it and his ankles crossed, leaning against it with just a smirk on his face and just enjoying every second of what Donald Trump was saying. He barely spoke. He just let Trump keep going, and he just smiled the whole time. He was obviously very happy about how things were proceeding. Remember in the first Trump administration, Jared Kushner was very involved in the Middle East and what was going on there and worked on the Abraham Accords. And he still remains highly invested in that. And I heard that Jared actually had a hand in helping write President Trump's remarks that he said at the beginning of that press conference. I do think a lot of that did come from Jared, who has a vision of reforming the Middle East. Keep in mind, Jared Kushner, Donald Trump, they're real estate guys. They look at a place and they think, how can I develop this? How can I put in the Gaza Mar-a-Lago and a golf course and a Trump Tower Gaza? So I'm sure that's exactly what they were thinking. That's how their minds work.
In terms of this being possible, or is it just something Trump is saying?
I don't know how it would be possible. First of all, it would take billions of dollars. And second of all, illegal. You can't just pick up 2 million Palestinians and move them somewhere. And we were trying to pin down some of those logistics with Donald Trump. And he's not a details person, so he was brushing them aside. Jordan, Egypt, all the countries around Israel said they don't want to take these refugees. They already have a lot already because of the war. So I don't see how this would come to be.
On the other side, it's been a battle between liberals and progressives. Because if you remember during the campaign, progressives were very against Joe Biden's actions regarding the Gaza war. They were calling him Genocide Joe, etc. So I noticed online a lot of liberals who supported Biden were going against these progressives, saying, are you happy now that you didn't vote for Genocide Joe or the Democrats? And now Trump is going to take over Gaza.
I think Democrats are just trying to figure out how to respond to Donald Trump. They don't know what to do and their hands are tied. They don't have any majority in government. They're filing lawsuits because that's pretty much their only option. They got a new head of the party last week, but this is Ken Martin from Minnesota. How much national experience does he have remains a question mark. Chuck Schumer has not been effective against Donald Trump. Where has Nancy Pelosi gone? She's technically a member of Congress, but when is the last time we've seen or heard from her? I think they're just scrambling and throwing things at the wall, seeing if something will stick.
John Fetterman seems to be in support of Trump's proposal. He's the only Democrat so far that I've been tracking that seems supportive. He said that there's a lot of conversations to be had, but he was open to this proposal. I think he's leading the way on any Democrats who might be supportive. I think the majority are totally against Trump on this. They've been searching for something to really nail Trump down on, and this is a perfect cause. Today, articles of impeachment are getting introduced against Trump.
How long did it take the first time around for those? We got to do a comparison eventually.
We need to do a comparison, but it honestly seems even delayed because when Republicans introduced articles of impeachment against Biden, it was in the first few weeks. It's pretty standard political move. Democrats not being in power in the House or the Senate, these won't go anywhere. They have no subpoena power or ability to actually bring these charges against Trump. But it is a sign that Democrats are flailing and they're looking to hit Trump back in any way they can. We'll unpack all of this after the break. Emily Gooden, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be in touch and have you on in the future.
Thanks for having me.
If you like this episode, we think you'll love this.
This week on The Life of Bryony, are you having enough sex? Should you trade your husband for a boyfriend? Or just have both? I'm joined by author and sex educator Ruby Rare to explore non-monogamy, open relationships, and what we get wrong about love.
I'm having what I would classify as a moderate amount of group sex.
Listen to The Life of Bryony, available now.
Welcome back to MAGAland. We're getting into the discussion on some of Trump's most controversial cabinet nominees. This week, Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. made it to the next stage in their nominations process. They both had very close calls when it came to the committee votes. There were 2 GOP holdouts for each. They ended up getting swayed by the MAGA commentators. JD Vance played a really huge role in this as well. The first one that I want to talk about was winning over Senator Bill Cassidy, who's a physician. He has been very vocal about the anti-vaccine stance of RFK Jr. He's had some very strong concerns, very vocal about that. He did not disclose how he was going to be voting until the very last second when they called the vote. He was very close-lipped, so he walked into the hearing room. He didn't say anything. And then moments before the vote started, he put out a tweet that said he would be voting yes. And that was because of concerned MAGA Americans who were calling into his office And also pressure was put on him by JD Vance, who we actually thanked for helping him get across the finish line on the nomination. But I think this really shows how much power JD Vance has now as vice president. He was only in the Senate for a short time, but he's been very effective at getting Trump's nominees across the finish line, particularly the most controversial, which RFK and Tulsi Gabbard arguably are.
It seems to me that the hardest nominee for Trump was going to be Pete Hegseth. Now that they've overcome that, RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard will be fine. I found it fascinating that Meghan McCain has been online threatening any congressman that does not support her good friend Tulsi Gabbard, who's the godmother of one of her daughters. And to me, this is just very interesting because we know that the concerns that some Republicans had about Tulsi Gabbard was her closeness with the Russian regime and a trip she did to Syria to see the former Syrian dictator. It shows how the Republican Party has changed. Meghan McCain's father was the typical Republican traditional hawk that wanted the U.S. to have this strong presence abroad. It seems that Tulsi Gabbard is the complete opposite of this and leans to an isolationist side.
There were several skeptical Republicans, most notably Todd Young of Indiana. He had a similar outcome where he spoke with JD Vance at length. He spoke with Trump on a 10-minute call right before the vote. He said that Trump disclosed to him to, quote, vote your conscience, which is what he did. And he came to the conclusion that, yes, Tulsi Gabbard should be the next director of national intelligence. What's interesting as we peel back what's actually happening behind the scenes, behind the negotiations, as Trump and his MAGA Republicans work their sources, put pressure on these senators to get confirmed, which I believe RFK and Gabbard will be confirmed next week.
It just shows also the mandate that the American people gave them. These senators, particularly Cassidy, who's up for re-election, cannot afford to not vote according to his party. Oh, he might get voted out of Congress. So I think that might have played a little bit into all their decisions as well. We have to talk about the tariffs. Last time we were talking, things stood at a way different situation. So it appears that we are good. We have paused on the Mexico and Canada tariffs after Trump and Trudeau had that second phone call on Monday. Apparently, Canada agreed to take certain measures to protect the northern border. However, the China tariffs remain, and a lot of people are concerned about how is this going to affect the stuff I buy on Instagram, the Shein economy. I'm not going to lie. I have this one Instagram store that I really like that has really good prices. And what's going to happen to these stores?
It looks like now that those initial pause on imports from China are now going to be going through. So there's been some sort of negotiations happening even as we record this podcast. Something else up to note with Trump's using tariffs as a tool is today, his national security advisor actually threatened that Trump might use tariffs to enforce the Gaza takeover. He said that if Jordan, if Egypt, if Saudi Arabia don't accept Palestinians into their countries, then tariffs could be on the table against those countries, which would be really notable, especially because they are such close allies of the United States. So this is an interesting tactic. We'll see if Trump actually makes good on those threats, but it seems to be a tool that he's not afraid to use and that have elicited really good results for him.
I feel like now I have a better analysis after Monday, seeing how he has been using these tariffs to threaten these countries, and it has worked for him so far. But my question is, will it continue to work now that we've already seen 2 diplomatic situations averted where he did not make good on his threat? We'll see how longer his favorite tool continues to work for him. Another threat that apparently the Trump administration has made is to dismantle the Department of Education. Now, we know that he has already placed Linda McMahon of WWE fame at the head of the Department of Education. A lot of people are saying that her job will be to dismantle it. I know that Elon Musk for a long time has been saying this is one of the departments that have to go. Libertarians have long believed that it's useless. It's not even a very old department. It has just been around about 40 years or something like that. So, Kelly, is he going to get rid of it? And does it matter?
Yes, Trump plans to get rid of it. He even said yesterday in the Oval Office that his goal is to actually put Linda McMahon quote, out of a job, put herself out of a job. So he's determined to destroy this education department completely. Congress will need to approve such a move. There is a bill introduced in the House by Thomas Massey to destroy the department. That would need to go through the House, and then it would need to get 60 votes in the Senate, which would be difficult to get any Democrat support on. So Trump might resort to alternative ways to dismantle the agency, including providing those buyouts we discussed to federal employees at the department to leave, or put pressure on some of the bureaucrats to exit if they don't return to the office. Ronald Reagan actually tried to destroy the Department of Education while he was president. He didn't get very far. Basically, the argument that conservatives have is that this is just another big government waste.
All this talk about eliminating departments of the government has a lot of people concerned. There's a lot of misinformation going around, a lot of rumors. Even myself, I'm a news reporter and I have to dig for a bit every time I see something. One of the rumors that has been going around is that Elon Musk, as he works with DOGE to dismantle USAID and other departments, a lot of people are concerned that now Elon Musk, who has not been elected, and the young coders that he's going around to dismantle these institutions have access to their social security information. Elizabeth Warren actually made this claim that Elon can now access your grandparents' social security. Let's hear what she said.
I just want to be clear about what's going on here. The system that makes sure that your granddad gets his social security check, the system that makes sure that your mom's doctor gets Medicare payment to cover her medical appointment, and the system that makes sure that you get the tax refund that you're owed has been taken over by Elon Musk. And every organization from your state government that uses federal money on that bridge project to the local Head Start that takes care of little kids while their mommies and daddies go to work is now at the mercy of Elon Musk. Elon just grabbed the controls of our whole payment system, demanding the power to turn it on for his friends or turn it off for anyone he doesn't like.
I think Elizabeth Warren is being a fearmonger in this instance. She's trying to rile up the public to the Democrat side to turn against Trump on some of these big initiatives. Dana Perino put it well yesterday on Fox News. She said that, why is Elizabeth Warren calling out Elon Musk for not being elected when there are hundreds and thousands of unelected bureaucrats who were enforcing Biden's policies, including EV mandates and others? It's the same thing, right? It's just this time Trump has appointed Elon, and of course that puts the Democrats in a tizzy. So there's a lot of fear mongering. No one's social security numbers are going to get leaked. What Elon Musk is doing is he's trying to streamline the government process, trying to cut back the federal bureaucracy so that the government works more efficiently, is spending less of your taxpayer dollars, and will get to work on behalf of some of Trump's MAGA priorities.
I also wanted to discuss updates on immigration because this is another of the main aspects that Trump is focusing on. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has been traveling the region. Last, he went to El Salvador. We know that President Bukele is a big Trump ally. He has been credited with helping eliminate the gangs from El Salvador who once ran this country. Apparently, Marco Rubio made a deal with Bukele that would see undocumented migrants who are criminals sent to El Salvador. But not only that, U.S. criminals too? I don't know how that would work, but let's hear what Marco Rubio said.
First, obviously, he continues with full cooperation on the returning of Salvadorians who find themselves illegally in the United States and welcome them back home. And that's already existing, and that will continue. But second, he has agreed to accept for deportation any illegal alien in the United States who is a criminal from any nationality, be they MS-13 or Tren de Aragua, and house them in his jails. And third, he has offered to house in his jails dangerous American criminals in custody in our country, including those of U.S. citizenship and legal residence. The technologies, like nuclear energy, that will allow you to power a 21st century economy, that will allow this to be the home of every advanced technology and industry of this new era.
I've been watching Bukele's mission in El Salvador for a while, and it's one of those tough ones because absolutely there are huge concerns of violation of human rights. However, we cannot overlook that residents of El Salvador, Salvadorians, now feel safer in their communities. So, what do you think about sending undocumented migrants to El Salvador? And what is this stuff about US citizens? How would that work? Or is that also misinformation?
It seems to me it might be misinformation. What Trump and Rubio have been clear about is that they're going to send illegal migrants who committed crimes back to their home countries, back to other countries who will end up accepting them. We also got news actually that broke during this podcast that the Pentagon put out. There are now 10, quote, high threat illegal aliens who have now entered Guantanamo Bay. They were flown on government planes yesterday. Secretary Christine put out some pictures of those individuals in handcuffs, in chains, getting on the flights to Guantanamo. They are occupying facilities that are already established on the campus. Right now, there are 10. We'll see if there are more that will be flown over.
Yeah, and also they released images of these undocumented migrants who are criminals, according to the government, arriving at Guantanamo. And I do have to say, they do appear to be members of Tren de Aragua because you could see the tattoos that Tren de Aragua members have. So again, I'm okay. I think this is a very good thing if it's going to be the worst of the worst criminals. But that's been it for today. Wow. I think that was quite a lot. And that was only since Monday.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And be sure to join us on Friday, where we will look at how politics and sports go together.
Remember to email us at welcometomagaland@dailymail.com and follow us on Instagram at welcometomagaland.